Guys, welcome back to my channel. In this video I'll be showing you how to use CSS Combinator. So I'm opening my VS Code. This, yeah, this is it. So this is my VS Code, and I've created my HTML. I created the H1 type of CSS Combinator. We basically have four types of CSS Combinator. We have the group combinator, the child combinator, the descendant, the chaining. So I'll be demonstrating it to you guys. So remember, I'm using the inline method of styling. So my Visual Studio comes with autocomplete. So yeah, first in first, let me target my body, the body, the body element. I want to change the background color. Background color. Good. Let me change to brown. Yeah, so I've changed it to brown. So now the first thing is the group combinator. So let's target the HTML element selector. Let me pick the H1, then the H2. I think we have the H2. Then let me so for the group combinator, it enables us to write the same styling when we are using it enables us to write the same property, to apply the same styling to different HTML elements when we are applying similar property to them. For the group combinator, the important keynote is the comma. There should be a comma here, comma. So that's when you are grouping your selector. So you can group as many selectors as you want. So now let's just implement this. Let's provide a property name. Let me change the background color. Let me use something very obvious. Background color. Let's assume I change the background color to black for H1 and H2. Let me scroll down to see if I have any H2 here. So yeah, I don't have any H2. Let me quickly create one. Let me create H2. What will I write as the H2? CSS. Good. I've written this as my H2. You can see that the same property that we provided for the H1 also applies here. The same property that we provided for it also applies here. Good. Let me try and break this code down a little bit. I'm closing it. I want this one to appear more good. so we can see it. So let me also add some other property like width. Let me make the width to be, let me say 50% or 50%. You can see once I implemented it, you can see 50% of the size of the screen. So it's going to take 50% of the size of the screen. Apart from that, I can just make it this, just write 200 pixel, still similar to that. Okay, I can also add padding, right? Padding, so that the space, padding, good. So I want to put a 10 pixel, I want to provide 10 pixel padding around. You can see. So this actually group group CSS selector. The purpose is to allow your style sheet looks clean. Since you are providing similar property, there is no need of you writing H1, then putting all this thing here, then creating another one. So it allows your code to look easy, to look more shorter and more smart and easy for you to even understand. You can write a code that's your code blocks can be up to 500, 2000 or thereabout, but when you write it bit by bit like this, it enables you to group them effectively so that you can easily scroll down and understand your code. There's no need of you repeating the same thing. If you are using similar properties, you can just use the group selector for that. I don't think I like this black color. Let me look for another color. Let's use gray. I think it's a little bit better. So that's for the first one, which is the group selector. Let's go to another one. Let's look at another CSS combinator, the child combinator. So for the child combinator, let me scroll down so I will look for which one to use to explain this. Let me look for HTML element. So there's a div, this is a div. Mhm. This div, this paragraph is this a div called container, and there's a paragraph called p. Good, let me use this as an example for the child selector. So now for the child selector, so it will be like this. We have a div called that has a class name called container. So type it, we will type it container. Remember that the spelling must be correct. Then for the child selector, we use this sign. This is a greater than sign, greater than sign, greater than, then you put p. So what property do we want now? So this has to do with the direct child, the direct child. So p is the direct child of this div that has the class name container, as a class name container. So this is the paragraph directly inside a div called child. So what should we do in this paragraph? Okay, let's change the font property. the font family. Let's make it, this is fantasy. Let me be setting that I'm catching it correctly. Let me just look for the background color. Background color. Let me change it to black. Good. It's not catching it. That means that there is something wrong with our code. Let me go down. It's called container. This is a P, right? This P is the red child. Okay, let's take it, turn it around. Like as we said, we've already targeted this is the child combinator. So I've opened my code in using the live server because I observed that the preview was not loading on time. So this is the child. You can see that it targeted. Let me scroll down. So inside this div which has the a class name of container has a direct child of paragraph. This is a paragraph P. It also has this is a direct child paragraph. Good. Then it has two direct child. It has three direct child. This is the first child. Section is another child, and this is another child, which is P. But the style will be applied on these two P's because of the instruction that I gave. The instruction was that go into this class. That means the div that has this class name called container, and effect these changes on the child, on the direct child that is a paragraph. So these two are the direct child and they are paragraph. So that's the for the child combinator. Now let's go further. Let's talk about the descendant combinator. So the descendant combinator, what differentiates it is just that there will be space in between. The good thing about the descendant combinator is that you can actually target not the direct child, you can target the even you can even target the descendant inside it. For example, let's look at this place now. You can target with the descendant, you can target this particular one. You can target this P if we want to target the P. But let's look at our the code we wrote here. We say this is a paragraph inside a section inside a div. Where this is it now? So how can we target this? Because now this one is directly inside a section. Let's try this out. So one thing about programming is that you learn by just practicing. You learn. There are resources online: W3 School, MDN Doc, Stack Overflow. You can learn from those places. You can see resources, but even after checking them, you must practicalize it. Now let's practicalize it. Now we remember that number one, there is inside the class, right? This is the name of the class. But for the descendant, what it just require is space. All right, what it requires is a space. Then let's just imagine that we just do p here. We are practicing something out. There's no error. Let's change the background color because it's very obvious for us to see, to make changes. Good, very change the background yellow. We can see that it targeted everything because all these ones are still, it's not just target just the direct, it can also target the the grandchildren, if I'm permitted to use that word. You can see, so go back and we'll go back and comment it out. Good, we've commented out to restore everything because this this descendant selector has the capacity to not just effect changes on the direct child but also other things inside it. And now what are we trying to target? We are trying to target this section. So supposing now for this section, supposing I just create I create a class here. Let me just say, oh, I want to create a class. Let me just call the class name. Let me call it box. Right? I've called it box. Now see how it will work. Let's go back again. Let's call this one box. Remember, it is a dot because it's a class. Class selector, you use dot to start it. Then let's uncomment this out again. Let's see the change that will occur. We change the background color. We can see that it works now, but we cannot use this color black. Let's use let's use a different color. Let's use pink. So the purpose of this car is just, we've not started building anything. We are just learning the basics. This is just the basics. Use any color as you like. Now, apart from using this color, I want to do text align. The property called text align. I want to make it center. Good. Then what again? I want to the width. I want the width to be 50%. 50%. But now, since I've already constrained the width to be 15%, I don't think this style will still work because I've already told it that, oh, let it be 50%, but it will be at the center of this 50%. That's what it's going to do. Do you understand? That's what it's going to do. So we've already targeted that. We've spoken about the group selector, we've spoken about the child selector, we've spoken about the descendant selector. Let's talk about the last one, which is the chaining. So let me scroll down. Now, for the chaining method, we can use this one as a chaining method. The name of this one is highlights. Good. Let's use it to practice the chaining method. Now, this is the chaining method. So it's also a paragraph and it has a class. Then we'll type in highlights. It's called highlights. Highlights. Good. So for the chaining method, there is no space in between them. You just write them together like that. The chaining method. Now, which property do we change? Which property should we style in it? Let's style the text. No, the font family, the font size. Oh, let's make it large. You can see the the effect immediately change. Okay, let's make it the font style. Let's make it this. You can see the effect. So I noticed before we've already applied a property to it, but now we are applying a unique property because before the property still got it when we used um this. I think that's what is giving it the white color, right? We've already changed it to this color, right? That's where it's giving it the white color. But now we want a unique property. That's when you can see the way we write our code. Like if you are writing multiple code and we notice that, oh, these elements are going to be using the same CSS styling, we can just use the group selector to target them and put the same thing. Then we can also use the child shell selector when it's the direct child. That's why it's called child. This is the parent. Why this is inside it? That is why it's child. This is the parent. This is the parent container, which is the div, and this is the child. Why the descendant, as the name implies, descendant, that means that it can be the direct child, it can be the grandson or grandchild inside it. It will still, so far you've already provided a path for the computer to understand, for the compiler to understand. It will, the browser will pick it and give it this styling. This is how it is going to be interpreted once it's on your display. Why the chain has to do with you not putting any space at all. You just write them straight, and the chain has to, they must be on the same, like this one. This is the chain. It has, it is a p, it is a paragraph tag, and it has a class name. It can, in fact, it can even have multiple class name. It can has another class name called, let me say, name. It may say I have id, and they call id. But now if you want to target it, it's just because it's picking it. This style C applies because there is only one paragraph that have this. Assuming there's other paragraph that has this class, it will also style that one, because now it will be that one is even more specific. But now for us to specifically, if it was only this one that we wanted, everything we must just use the chain method to target them. So we can see that it is not, we use the purpose of using CSS Combinator is to shorten our CSS style sheets so that it will not be bulky. So there's no need of you repeating code that you want. Well, once you already have, that's why we use classes. Like you can see some code that have the same class name. The purpose of it having the same class name is that once they have the same class name and you have a style that you want to use, you can even paragraph um, h1, h2, h3, and the rest can have the same class name. That the class name, they have a certain attribute or a certain property that is familiar, that all of them are actually sharing. So you can just put them together and they will just use the same property. But when you now have all those other properties that are unique to it, you can just create a different, using another combinator to arrange it and say, oh, this is the few one that is specific to it. So the sole purpose of using CSS combination is to shorten your code, and to allow you to easily target your HTML element. So please, if you find this this teaching interesting, please endeavor to subscribe to this channel. Please stay tuned so that you can get notification once I upload a new video. Thank you, and see you in my next video.